While everybody else has been off playing their Hornets and their flankers, I decided to spend some time with the F-16 Netz. I haven't really seen many people talking about this thing, and I wanted to get a full grasp of how good or how bad it might be. Now initially, my thoughts were that if a premium isn't being talked about right out of a patch, it usually means it's somewhat bad. But for the sake of being fair, don't knock it until you try it, I decided my first few days of the patch were exclusively going to be spent playing the Netz. Was this a bad decision? Yeah, probably. I really wish I was playing the J11B instead. But I'm the funny content man, so does it really matter what I want to play when I could instead be suffering for everybody else's sake? Now, first things first, this is technically a copy and paste aircraft. There is a Netz in the Israeli tech tree, so if you're not going to shill out $80 for this aircraft, that's completely understandable. The premium Netz differs in that it has a slightly larger elevator of the later F-16 variants, and, most importantly, it has double the countermeasures of the tech tree Netz. But even though it does come with 120 countermeasures, that doesn't actually mean you get to press the countermeasure button 120 times. See, it actually fires its flare and chaff in pairs, so you get effectively half as many countermeasures. So while 120 is a big number and it looks good, in practice I found myself pressing my flare and chaff buttons more than I probably should, and I have run out of countermeasures before. And trust me, missiles become a lot less friendly when you don't have anything to defend yourself with. Speaking of missiles, let's talk about which ones you have access to. And this will be short and sweet because the answer is Python 3. Technically you also have the AIM-9L, but it's worse at everything than the Python 3, and that's where the story ends. So if you're a new player, I guess it does make the decision of what to take a bit easy, but man, I was not enjoying myself with this kit. While the Python 3 is the best infrared missile that doesn't have IRCCM, having it be the only missile available to you does not feel like enough. Basically, every aircraft you're going to run into is going to have some easy way to kill you in the head-on, and you just simply don't have that capability. And when you take a look at and compare what weapons you have compared to the other 12-7 aircraft that you're going to be fighting, I honestly would have any other kit from any other 12-7 aircraft. See, at this battle rating, you really want to have a radar missile of sorts, even if it's a bad one. For example, the JA-37D Viggen, even though it only has access to sky flashes, the threat of either an infrared missile or a radar missile being shot at you forces the enemy to think more, defend harder, and can sometimes force mistakes to be made. Meanwhile, if I run into a Netz on the enemy team, I know that if I can just press my flare key a couple of times, I'll be effectively immune to his missiles. And that right there is the reason why I feel like I had such a bad time with this aircraft. Because of this, I can't recommend that you go and buy the Netz. I want to recommend aircraft that are at least somewhat fun to play, especially when you have to spend $80 to get them, and that's just not this plane. In the current state of the game right now, enemies are constantly throwing out flares, shooting their own missiles, really just doing anything that would attract your pythons to go look in a different direction. And I swear, every other enemy that I tried to shoot at would randomly drop flares halfway through my Python's flight time because somebody on my team also launched a missile at them, and because of this, both of our missiles are going to miss instead of the one that they weren't aware of from me going and hitting them in the face. I'm gonna pause the commentary for a second. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would be great. I know this is cringe and hypocritical of me because I skip past these sections too when I'm watching YouTube, but it goes a long way. Thank you. If you don't really care about my experience though, and you're going to buy the aircraft regardless, here are my tips for playing the aircraft, or at least what I found to be the most successful. While I was playing, I flew the aircraft both on the deck down low and up high in the sky. And while flying down low does get you into the action faster, it wasn't that great of a suit for our missile kit, where you have nothing to really challenge all the other people who are going to be spamming radar missiles at you head on. A lot of times I spent the entire game defensive and walked away with 0 kills, so I transitioned to climbing at the beginning of the match instead. While this does tend to attract attention from people who love to spam radar missiles, if you can get past that phase of the match, you'll end up in a position where you can ambush people from above. This is where the Python is really good as a missile, because out of all of the small-scale infrared missiles, it has some of the best acceleration and range. It's actually a little bit bigger than an AIM-9 Sidewinder, which actually helps you out in this instance, as coming down from a glide, it tends to carry its speed more. I've used this to reach out 4, sometimes 5, and if you're really lucky and somebody's flying towards you, sometimes even 6 kilometers to get a kill with this. Though, just to be clear, this isn't necessarily a consistent tactic. It entirely depends on how clueless your enemies are and how much they bunch up together. And it also needs your team to not be swarming them so that they're dropping countermeasures all the time. But, I mean, the plane is situational to begin with, so this is the best I got. Since your only other weapon option is your gun, let's talk about flight performance and dogfighting. Now, this is a Block 10 F-16, and if you get really good at it, inside of the matchmaker that it sits in, there's basically nothing that can touch you in a dogfight. Unfortunately, I left my skill at home when I was recording this, so you can really tell how rusty I am in terms of dogfighting and gunfighting high-tier jets in this video. Overall, I mean, if you're trying to grind Israel, I guess this does technically do the job. It's a premium, and it's the highest rank one that Israel has access to, so if your goal is to grind the tech tree without caring about if your premium is fun or unique, then sure, go ahead and buy this, I guess. However, my real recommendation for if you want to grind Israel is that you buy the Kafir Canard. It's a much more unique plane, it base bombs just as well if that's your thing. And it's a rank 7 premium, so you can still efficiently get into rank 8 and grind through this whole tech tree. Alternatively, you can wait for the Israeli A4E premium to come back on sale. It has the same engine as the A4H, which is stronger than any of the American Skyhawks, and the 30mm Defa is much more reliable than the Marshmallow launcher that is the 20mm Colt. All of that is to say, I don't think the Netz mod is the best value for your money. Especially considering that brand new premiums don't tend to go on sale for a while, I think it's best if your money is spent elsewhere. To be fair though, this is the only premium F-16 in the game right now, so if that's how you want to spend your money, I'm not going to stop you. Anyway, just a quick note at the end, I'm trying to bring activity back into my Squadron, so if you're interested in grinding out Squadron vehicles, we're so close to hitting the maximum rewards. If you go into War Thunder right now and search up PEWTS, PEWTS, you will find the Squadron, and the application is open to anybody. There's no skill requirement or barrier to entry, and I look forward to seeing you guys. Anyway, that's all for this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.